Did you know that one simple contract negotiation in the late 1920s nearly toppled the entire Hollywood studio system? Imagine Louis B. Mayer pacing in his office as Jack Warner threatened to poach top talent while Adolf Zukor plotted his next takeover. In the next few minutes, you'll witness the cutthroat battles, secret alliances, and explosive showdowns that defined MGM, Warner Bros., and Paramount's relentless fight for box office supremacy. Stay with us, because behind every silver screen triumph lay a war for dollars, power, and lasting legacy. When Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer opened its doors in 1924, it did so as the undisputed titan of Hollywood's new era. Marcus Lowe's merger had combined Metro Pictures, Goldwyn Pictures, and Mayer's theatrical empire under one roof. MGM boasted the largest backlot, the richest talent pool, and the golden motto, "More stars than there are in heaven." Yet across town, Warner Bros., still smarting from silent films that paled in comparison, struck back with a game-changing gamble. In October 1927, Sam, Harry, and Jack Warner released The Jazz Singer, the first feature-length talkie. With Al Jolson's electrifying "You Ain't Heard Nothing Yet," Warner Bros. Shattered the status quo and forced every major studio to scramble for sound technology. Whereas MGM had invested in lavish set design and star charisma, Warner Bros. Invested in sound stages and linguistic drama, signaling a seismic shift in production priorities. Paramount, meanwhile, wielded its own advantages. Under Adolf Zukor's leadership, Paramount had perfected the art of international distribution and prestige pictures. Zukor recognized that European markets craved sophisticated stories, so Paramount specialized in literary adaptations from Tolstoy to Shaw and built partnerships in London and Paris. While MGM glamorized glitz and Warner Bros. Chased gritty realism, Paramount cultivated high-brow credibility. Their elaborate premieres in London's West End set trends that American stars envied. By 1928, Paramount controlled half of the overseas market, a fact that rankled both MGM and Warner Bros., who saw foreign revenue as essential to outspending each other on production values. As the Great Depression struck in 1929, studio coffers tightened. MGM's lavish musicals and historical epics, the Hollywood Review of 1929, The Merry Widow, proved costly, yet they still filled seats at Lowe's theaters. Warner Bros. Focused on fast turnaround, socially conscious films like I Am a Fugitive from a Chain Gang, 1932, tapped into public discontent, delivering hard-hitting narratives on shoestring budgets. Paramount leaned on bankable literary adaptations, Paramount's Marie Antoinette, 1938, and Pygmalion, 1938, which attracted middle-class audiences seeking escapist prestige. Each studio doubled down on its brand. MGM as the Dream Factory, Warner Bros. As the truth teller, and Paramount as the purveyor of cultured drama. Contracts and star poaching became a potent weapon. Louis B. Mayer used long-term contracts to lock down top names. MGM's roster included Garbo, Gable, Crawford, and Thalberg's prized proteges. Studio schools taught these stars acting, etiquette, and glamour, forging personal loyalty. Warner Bros. Responded by recruiting disgruntled talents. Errol Flynn left Warner's own Jack Warner for Warner Bros. Rival, ironically, and then jumped to Republic for higher pay, prompting MGM to increase salaries across the board. Paramount countered by offering profit-sharing deals to marquee names like Marlene Dietrich, tempting stars with a stake in the film's success rather than fixed wages. These contract chess moves forced each studio to inflate budgets and carve ever larger percentages for talent, fueling an arms race of star salaries that only intensified as audience demand resurged. The mid-1930s saw another turning point: the enforcement of the Hays Code in 1934. Censors threatened brutal cuts to any hint of immorality, crime, romance outside wedlock, or social critique. Warner Bros., whose bread and butter was hard-edged crime dramas and risque musicals, found itself on the defensive. Jack Warner dispatched teams of writers to sanitize scripts, losing the raw edge that had defined Warner Bros. Brand. MGM, with its safer musicals and costume epics, cruised through the Code era relatively unscathed, capturing family audiences. Paramount's literary adaptations required careful editing. Zucker's office mandated script approvals before production, ensuring no scandalous material slipped through. These enforcement battles forced each studio to recalibrate. MGM leaned further into escapism. Warner Bros. Shifted toward patriotic films and wartime propaganda. Paramount sought compromises with insinuation rather than explicit content. Technology continued to widen the competitive gap. In 1935, MGM invested heavily in Technicolor, premiering Becky Sharp, the first full-length Technicolor feature. The tri-color process dazzled audiences and marked MGM as the leader in color spectacle. Warner Bros., lacking similar capital, licensed 2 color processes for limited musicals. Watching rival premieres of A Star is Born under MGM's vibrant hues. Paramount sat out the initial color rush, preferring black and white prestige dramas, until budget constraints forced reconsideration. When Paramount finally released Holiday in 1942, in Technicolor through shared contracts, they still trailed MGM's dominance and had to slash ticket prices to compete. The color arms race cemented MGM's image as the most visually opulent studio, while Warner Bros. Reaffirmed its gritty black and white identity, and Paramount bet on narrative sophistication over pure spectacle. World War II reshaped the field again. With European markets cut off, domestic box office demand soared. All 3 studios pivoted: MGM's musicals and patriotic epics, For Me and My Gal, 1942, Meet Me in St. Louis, 1944, Boyd Homefront Morale, Warner Bros., combat documentaries and noir thrillers. Casablanca style vanished after screening for troops, traveled overseas with the U.S. Army. Paramount produced more overtly propagandistic fare, partnering with the U.S. government on training films and morale-boosting shorts. Production resources, film stock, shipping, and manpower were rationed. MGM leveraged its deep pockets to secure priority for critical materials. Warner Bros. Innovated with recycled footage and miniatures. Paramount used its government contracts to maintain equipment flow. This wartime logistical prowess determined which studio could release the most titles each month, influencing post-war dominance. As Victory in Europe Day approached, audience tastes shifted to gritty realism and psychological depth. Film noir emerged. Warner Bros., sitting on a backlog of hard-boiled properties, led with Double Indemnity, 1944, and The Maltese Falcon, 1941. The studio's talent pool of Barrymore-type character actors and fast-paced scripting proved ideal for noir's cynicism. MGM, with its polished musicals, lagged behind, scrambling to produce acclaimed dramas like The Hucksters, 1947, to recapture relevance. Paramount buckled down on sophisticated thrillers, Laura, 1944, Notorious, 1946, employing Alfred Hitchcock under contract to keep pace. These genre rivalries highlighted each studio's strengths. Warner Bros. Edgy authenticity, Paramount's narrative tension, and MGM's glossy, aspirational fare. But no studio war is waged without boardroom intrigue. In 1948, the U.S. Supreme Court's Paramount decision mandated studios to divest their theater chains, Paramount, Lowe's, MGM, and First National Warner Bros. Contested the ruling vigorously. Louis B. Mayer hired top antitrust lawyers, while Jack Warner lobbied Congress with public relations campaigns painted as preserving American entertainment. Paramount quietly prepared contingency plans, negotiating distribution deals with independent theaters. The divestiture fractured the vertical integration model that had fueled studio profits. In its aftermath, MGM's guaranteed exhibition buffer vanished, forcing it to cut production budgets and raise star loan-outs. Warner Bros., less reliant on its chain, weathered the blow by forging new partnerships with television producers. Paramount, already seasoned in distribution logistics, thrived in licensing films to emerging TV networks, leveraging its literary prestige library for anthology series. As television rose in the 1950s, the studio rivalry evolved once more. MGM sold early musical features to TV syndication at premium rates. Warner Bros. Launched its own television division, creating hit series like Cheyenne, starring Clint Walker, one of the first TV westerns. Paramount became a pioneer in prime-time anthology dramas, adapting its prestige library into 60-minute teleplays. While MGM struggled with adapting to TV's fast pace, losing younger audiences to the small screen, Warner Bros. And Paramount diversified into recordings and licensing, turning backlot acreage into sound stages leased to independent producers. Each studio's strategic pivot determined its survival in the post-studio system era. In the first part of this saga, we've witnessed the origins, the technological gambits, the wartime maneuvers, and the legal battles that shaped MGM, Warner Bros., and Paramount's quest for box office supremacy. Next, we'll delve into 3 definitive case studies: MGM's The Wizard of Oz vs. Warner Bros., Casablanca vs. Paramount's Sunset Boulevard, to see firsthand how these rivalries played out on screen, in fan culture, and in the balance sheets. Plus, we'll explore how today's streaming giants echo these historic rivalries, proving that the stakes for winning audiences have never been higher. Stay tuned for Part 2, where studio titans become cultural icons, and every blockbuster bears the imprint of fierce competition. MGM's The Wizard of Oz and Warner Bros. Casablanca premiered within months of each other in 1939, crystallizing the studio's competing strengths. MGM poured unprecedented resources into Oz. 6 Technicolor cameras, 16 sound stages humming in perfect sync, and a backlot transformed into Munchkinland miniature sets. Judy Garland's Dorothy was costumed in more than 100 dresses to maintain continuity under the harsh lights, while the art department hand painted over 6,000 feet of yellow brick road canvas. Meanwhile, Warner Bros. Accelerated Casablanca through a 6-week shoot, relying on Howard Koch's rapid-fire script rewrites and Michael Curtiz's instinctive camera setups. Whereas Oz captivated family audiences with dazzling color, Laurel and Hardy-style charm, and an 80-piece MGM orchestra recording live cues, Casablanca enthralled adults with its cynical romance, overlapping dialogue, and haunting Max Steiner score recycled from earlier Warner's projects. Box office tallies tell the tale. Oz became the top money maker in family fare for a decade, while Casablanca dominated adult urban markets, ensuring IMDb's 100-year later acclaim. Critics lauded Oz's technical spectacle, the most expensive children's bedtime story ever told, while Casablanca was praised for its moral complexity, positioning Warner Bros. As Hollywood's conscience. Paramount's Sunset Boulevard, 1950, offered another masterstroke in studio rivalry, while MGM had perfected spectacle and Warner Bros. Had cornered adult drama. Paramount gambled on meta-commentary about Hollywood's own underbelly. Director Billy Wilder, borrowed from MGM for his executive savvy, teamed with Paramount's veteran cinematographer, John F. Sates to craft noirish chiaroscuro sets on the Paramount backlot. Gloria Swanson reprised her silent-era diva persona, co-writing her dialogue with Wilder to lampoon the very more stars marketing line MGM cherished. Meanwhile, Paramount's distribution muscle ensured exclusive premieres at Loew's Capitol Theatre before rolling out nationally, outranking many MGM and Warner Bros. Releases in initial grosses. The film's blend of biting satire, heartbreaking tragedy, and insider references showcased Paramount's willingness to challenge industry peers, revealing that a studio's greatest weapon could be its own history. The rivalry persisted into the 1950s and 60s, as each studio confronted television, antitrust rulings, and shifting audience tastes. MGM, after divesting Loew's theaters, struggled with overextended musicals like Singin' in the Rain, 1952. Ironically, a Warner's production, but deeply rooted in MGM's musical legacy. Warner Bros. Capitalized on TV's appetite for westerns, spinning Maverick and Cheyenne off their cinematic heroes, while Paramount launched anthology series like Playhouse 90, repurposing its literary adaptations for home screens. By the late 1960s, MGM's backlots, once a fortress of production, were leased to independent filmmakers, even hosting Mission Impossible on former Arbuckle sets. Warner's Old Water Tower music division branched into theme parks. Paramount's Desilu Productions created Star Trek, becoming a rival network supplier. The original studio-centered model gave way to diversified entertainment conglomerates, yet the DNA of competition, brand identity, technological investment, distribution prowess remained unchanged. Today's streaming wars echo the Golden Age studio battles. Netflix invests billions in original content akin to MGM's lavish epics. Amazon purchases theatrical rights like Paramount's global acquisitions. Warner Media launches day and date releases reminiscent of Warner's takeover of radio and TV. Rumors swirl around exclusive talent deals, streamers locking down showrunners, as studios once locked stars under contract. Franchise tentpoles, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe channel MGM's Star Power Playbook, bundling a list actors across interconnected films. Meanwhile, indie pioneers adopt Warner's gritty authenticity in limited series, true crime hits. Paramount Plus revives its own back catalog, reissuing remastered classics alongside new series, a nod to Zuka's overseas library strategy. Even the rise of theatrical event streaming releases recalls Paramount's roadshow distribution. Mank and Elvis debuted simultaneously in cinemas and on platforms, generating the same pre-release buzz once reserved for Gone with the Wind. What lessons can modern media giants glean from MGM, Warner Bros., and Paramount's rivalries? First, brand differentiation remains paramount. Know your identity, spectacle, grit, prestige, and own it. Second, vertical integration still pays dividends. Control production, distribution, and exhibition to maximize revenue streams. Third, talent attraction is a zero-sum game. Loyalty and compensation structures must evolve alongside market trends. Fourth, technology investment is non-negotiable. Whether Technicolor cameras or real-time rendering, early adoption can yield outsized returns. Finally, cultivation of archives and IP libraries provides resilience. Paramount's reissues and Warner Bros. Home video ventures underscore the enduring value of content ownership. As the credits roll on our deep dive into Hollywood's golden rivalries, remember that behind every box office statistic lay boardroom machinations, midnight script rewrites, and armies of craftspeople competing for limited studio space. The same hunger for audience attention that drove Mayer, Warner, and Zuka still fuels today's entertainment titans. So next time you debate whether Netflix or Disney Plus reigns supreme, consider the century-old playbook that first defined showbiz empires. Know your brand, outspend your rivals in key areas, secure exclusive talent, and never, ever cede audience loyalty. The war for eyes and ears continues, and history shows that only the most adaptive and visionary will emerge victorious.